I know with the M's, hey, I give it 10 breaths, and then I have to punch the button, and it was off, underneath my night table at the time for the noise factor, and hey, that was a real pain. I really like this feature. Didn't work so well on the M's. Up here on the System Ones, hey, this is a lot more sensitive. I can get 2 to 3 breaths in, and it'll turn on for me. So I do want to leave that on. So that's on. Okay, so auto off. Now auto off is if it senses a large leak during the night, or senses that you've taken your mask off and left your machine running, it'll automatically shut your CPAP off. The bad thing about this is that if you have a mask with a large leak rate, all it takes is a little leak rate more, a little leak on the side, and it'll shut your machine off at night without you knowing it. So this is one, the DMEs always try and turn this off, and I think it's a good idea, because what happens is some patient who doesn't know about these settings will call them in the middle of the night and say, hey, my CPAP machine is shutting off at night and I don't know why. Well, the reason is that they had a large leak. Maybe their mask leak rate was high and they had a little leak, and the two combined pushed it over and it turned off their machine. So the next one here is mask alert. Now I have this shut off. I found that the alarm isn't, it's not enough for me to actually hear, because Pappy wears earplugs to bed. It's about if you have, a wristwatch alarm, the mask alert, when it senses a large leak, this mask alert goes off. It leaves the machine running, okay, but it sounds an audible alarm, hopefully to wake you up. Well, for Pappy, it's not going to do it. If you're taking your mask off at night, this might be one you want to leave on. Because if you take it off at night, you leave the machine on. Now, if you shut the machine off, it's not going to help here. But if you take your mask off at night, a very common problem for people adjusting to CPAP, if you take your mask off at night, this little audible alarm is going to get you to put it back on. So if you can hear it and you wake up by it, hey, this is a good feature to leave on if you're taking it off at night. So the humidifier, this is the humidifier LED backlight that I was talking about. Notice I've turned it off, and like I said, hey, when you first turn your machine on the therapy mode, it's going to show that number. Even with this off, it displays it for 30 seconds, and then when you change the dial again, it'll come back. These lights will come back on for another 30 seconds. So if you're light sensitive, hey, maybe you want to use it as a night light. Go ahead and turn it on, because it'll just stay on all night. Hey, if you want to use a night light, that's fine. But Pappy likes to shut that off. So now we're at the bottom. We can get the back button again, and now we're going to come back to our main setup menu. So that is the patient section of this menu. Now, I said it before, I'm going to say it again. I'm not about self-treatment. So I'm not going to show you how to get into the Clinicians Menu. I mean, guys, if you're computer literate enough to find this place, you're able to find out how to do it. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But you do need to know what is in the Clinicians Menu, because a lot of the choices that you're going to have here in your Patients Menu are based on those. And I'm going to go through. I'll show you what the different settings are that's going to affect this. I'll tell you about them, so that and it's for your information, so that if somebody just doesn't want to take the time with you, doesn't want to take the hassle, doesn't want to answer the questions, and they think they can get out with a fib, you should know what's in there and be able to call them on it. So hey, I'm going to shut the camera off, and we'll be right back, and we'll be doing the Clinicians Menu next. Okay, guys, we're back. Now, this is the Clinicians Menu. So you're going to notice it has the same 4 squares as the beginning menu on the patient's menu. Notice some differences. Here is exit, so that you can exit out of the Clinicians Menu when you're finished. It's exit instead of therapy. It's reminder instead of your C-Flex setting and C-Flex demo. You still have the info button, lots of duplicate information in here, and then you still have your setup area. So the first one I look at, because it's the easiest, is this reminder. Now this reminder really is just more or less a sales tool. When you select it, you have off, but then you also have the number of days to a reminder. Basically, if your insurance is paying for stuff every 30 days, You know, if they're paying for stuff every 90 days, you're going to be able to go in here and they're going to set this up to remind you. It's kind of a sales tool. It's also a good reminder if you're having trouble changing out your filters on time, having trouble changing if you don't check them that often. It's a good thing to have set up for you, just as a reminder to change your filter every 30 days. So there's some good features in there. You know, a lot of times we're going to use it as a sales tool. Hey, that's fine. You know, there's a real business to be had. Exit, of course, exit you out of this menu into the patient section. Now, the info section, there's a lot of duplication in here. So phone in is the same, VIC compliance is the same, therapy hours is going to be the same. Here we have blower hours, that's the same. Days over 4, that's all the same. You know, large leak, I mean, that's the same reporting. There's your AHI number. The one thing I will say about this is when you go in here, okay, well, that's actually the same. There's another menu that will allow you to turn that on and off. I think that's in the setup, actually. So this is just another place to report that. You know, there's your periodic breathing. All this information is really the same. The only thing that's different in here is really this reset data. I think that resets your 7-day counter. I don't think it'll do the 30. I've seen some DMEs having trouble with that when they brought out like an auto PAP machine for us to try. They were able to set the 7 days, but they weren't able to set the 30, or they're able to set both of them and not the not the overall blower hours and that kind of stuff. So here we go into the setup menu. This is the heart of this, and I'm moving pretty quick so it doesn't time out. But here, of course, you have your standard back button, CPAP press. That is to set your CPAP pressure. Like I said before, flex type, and I'm going to show you this. There's C-Flex, there's C-Flex Plus, and there is none. Now, if you have none selected, what's going to happen is it's not going to show up in the patient's menu. So if you're not seeing any flex type, now you aren't able to change this in the patient's menu, but if you aren't seeing any of them, it's because this setting is set to none. Okay, and the same way with this, if you set this to none, this next C-Flex setting will just that little line will just totally disappear. So this is